Hello everyone, welcome to an overview of Tamurkhan, the Maggot Lord of Nurgle. So I did a few turns to check out the faction, how it plays out, and drew my own conclusions on it. I'll go through the most meaningful aspects and in the end provide you with some army compositions you may wish to try for your own campaigns. So as always, this is not an in-depth guide, but without further ado, let's play with Tamurkhan. So, for your short victory objectives, you need to complete 6 Chieftain devoted battles, or 3, really the tooltip is not working out properly. Then you need to destroy the Heralds of the Tempest, Grimgor's Ardboys, and Goldtooth. The reward is plus 30 winds of magic power reserved to all armies, so really good for Nurgle, to ensure you always have some casting possibilities when fighting. So, this is a relatively short campaign, mainly giving you like one direction to proceed into. That's always the nice part. For long victory, achieve the short victory conditions, complete the 6 Chieftain devoted battles, and control the settlement of Nuln, located way down in the Empire lands. So already, as you can see, this is quite a different thinking, because you'll have to move on that direction, then completely make a shift towards Nuln. So this is going to take quite a while. It implies a little bit, so the short victory is good, the long victory is quite lengthier compared. Achieving it, you'll get plus 10 Lord Recruit rank, which is always nice, you already know the drill. So, Tamurkhan is the chosen Maggot and benefits from access to the Chieftain's mechanic, providing unique heroes, units, abilities, campaign movement range plus 10 to all armies, that's always nice, and recruitment health plus 10% for all non-demonic units. It's a nice set of benefits, one that sets you a little bit into a non-demonic mortal units path. It should be embraced to have a different Nurgle playthrough than with other lords. Now, climate is rather good. An inhabitable desert is not really the only great issue that we have, but the rest of it is quite nice. This is always one of the great campaigns to try domination or even full map clearance with. Your starting location is a 2-settlement province, and there are a few 3 or 4 settlement provinces nearby. I cannot target the 4-settlement province, but I believe it's right here to the south. So it is quite a secure position. You won't need too many better military provinces either. So it's quite a secure position. You're in the middle of the corridor, but it sets you up in the path of conquest to the south. And of course, you're going to be able to defend from the north, if that's your choice, of course. But so typical expansion is therefore to go to the south of your position, right against Kolek, through the mountains to get Grimgor and Greases too. And should you wish to prolong the fight and go into Cathay is up to you, but a reminder that Nuln is in the Empire lands, so it's a target for your long campaign goals. So at one point it is recommended, of course, that you direct yourself to go there. So diplomatically, you're part of Chaos. Norska, Chaos factions, Chaos Dwarves are likely to be your allies for the most part. Skaven and Ogres are a possibility, but a reminder that you have to defeat Greases for the victory goals. Now, enemies will be quite varied and different. You also have enemies within Chaos forces, so expect fighting other Chaos warriors, Norska, Greenskins, and Ogres just for your short victory condition, but also later on the Order Tide, including the Empire and Kislev, when you try to go for the long victory. The Dwarfs will become a threat too. So, therefore, outposts will likely come in the form of the Skaven. Possibly some of the Ogre factions too. I would recommend getting their missile units to actually further consolidate your forces, but you can get other units. This is just like the typical recommendation that I do. So, Nurgle factions, they revolve around plagues, and for that you need the currency, infections. That's what you have here. Then these have been reworked now, so you have to select the target first. You have to select either a settlement or an army that you own, and then you can infect it with your own plague. Then you select from 3 possible symptoms. As you see here, these are kind of randomized, so that's good as well to see. And once you generate it, of course, it will be applied for the duration that you set up there. It will have an immunity for there, so increase the chance of spreading. You can always modify this, spending more infections. Then infected, of course you can use that as well, the amount of infections to summon a cultist, who will do the other way around. It will spread plagues to enemy settlements and armies. So that's in essence the main idea around plagues. There's a lot to investigate and to check how best to approach, but that's up to you. That's part of the fun with Nurgle. Now, to recruit units, what you do is actually you summon them from a pool of units that keeps replenishing. So when they are recruited, they are also not in full strength and need to replenish first. So that's the advantage, is that you can recruit plenty at once, so you don't have any recruitment slots. For instance, you can recruit a full army in one turn if you wish, but it will always need some replenishment earlier on. Then we have the Nurgle buildings, who are cyclical. It means that they cost infections the first time that you build them, and then they evolve alone, with no further costs, depending on different factors that determine cycle time. With each cycle comes a different effect, or units available to recruit. You can also use infections to instantly cycle to the next level of a building if you truly need it. So overall, it's a very nice system to have, and you should always be aware of what units are available or not, so that you don't miss out the timing when you can recruit them. Now, the Chieftain mechanic. This is Tamurkhan's unique one. So you gain dominance, which is a unique currency, by winning battles, and then you can spend those to purchase units from each Chieftain, or even to spend on their abilities. Each Chieftain has a fealty level, which increases and gives better bonuses when the more that you complete the tasks required. So you have several different Chieftains here, as you can see, with different units available for you. And down below you have the conditions, where you can increase the fealty of the Chieftain. For instance, for this one, you can raise settlements or defeat Empire, Bretonnian, Cathay, or Kislev in battle. And then once he reaches devoted, you will have a unique battle to fight. So overall, a very nice mechanic to provide tons of variety for your campaigns and for your gameplay, and this is really very welcoming to Nurgle. In terms of edicts, we have a plague duration +1 and chance of a plague spreading +10%, pretty self-explanatory, very important. Control +4, growth +20. Growth is really important for Nurgle, by the way, later on that. Rush cycle cost and recruitment cost -10%. This is excellent, especially when you're trying to rush a building. And infections +5 per turn. Don't sleep on this. It's really important, especially to build up new buildings in the beginning. It's really important that you have infections, okay? So then in terms of army stances, we have channeling, Winds of Magic Power Reserve +15, and costing 10% movement penalty. In camp costs 50% movement, of course, immunity to attrition, enables replenishment, access to global recruitment. The works, it's the typical one. Then raiding, also the typical one, also costs 50% movement. Ambush costs 25% movement, and then we have force march. So overall, very thematic, if unfortunately slightly modified from the previous system that included an edict to reduce the cycle time. So currently it's more set into extending the duration of plagues and their chance to spread around. So you have a specific building in the Gallows Tree that gives plague immunity duration -1 and chance of a plague spreading +5%, faction-wide. So it also gives Nurgle corruption. It's a must to ensure that all your plagues keep spreading well. So you have 5 military buildings, and only 2 over here are required in the capital. In addition, the defensive buildings are the ones providing heroes and hero capacity, by the way. Now, because of how the buildings are cyclical, you're not always going to be able to recruit the specific units, and you must be on alert to ensure that you recruit as they are available to you. So the good thing is, for instance, how in the minor settlements you can also recruit chosen. That's cool, I guess. And of course, you do have all these buildings. You have to bear in mind how much the cycle takes, so that you can, adjust to when you want to recruit specific units so that they are available. Infrastructure, we have an infections per turn, a control +4, an income generation building, very straightforward, a growth and Nurgle corruption, and also a less recruitment cost and more recruitment health. Note, and it's very important, you now have if you are over 200 growth, or if you have 5 population surplus, your buildings have an additional effect. And it also includes recruit rank, which is something Nurgle didn't have previously, which is really cool. Now, in terms of research, you have divided into faction and military. I really like how they are splitting these up nowadays. So, faction, of course, has the typical buffs for campaign stuff. Corruption, movement speed, population surplus, for instance, some growth, etc. That's always the drill. While military is now divided mostly into infantry, into air units or cavalry units and chariots. It's all over here. And then you have the beasts over there to the north. And it's really cool because you can focus on one factor and, incredibly enhance those units if you wish. Of course, you have your Lord-specific skills, the red line skills or army, and the blue line skills or campaign. So I'm just showcasing the specific ones for Tamurkhan, but more on that later. In terms of the blue line, we have the reduced upkeep here, up to 10%, which is excellent. Then we have the relentless advance for minus attrition. That's always nice. And we have a nice one, which is casual replenishment rate added with the growth. And as have you seen, growth is really important. To note that Renowned Feared gives upkeep and recruitment rank for Nurgle units. They used to have no form of adding recruitment rank, and now they have a lot of that. So that's cool. So in terms of the red line, it's subdivided into two different ones for Heralds and the other one for the Chaos Lords. Should be noted that Tamurkhan, even though he goes heavily into mortal units, his red line is that of a Herald of Nurgle. So they have some differences as to how a unit will become later on after all benefits, but typically with Heralds you might want to invest in demonic units, while with Chaos Lords you might want to invest in mortal units. So in terms of the heroes, remember that Plague Ridden are the ones with the replenishment ability, while cultists, for instance, have the summons, and exalted heroes also have the possibility of some extra replenishment for your forces if you wish. So overall, just make sure that you select the heroes that best suit your playstyle. So here we have the red line skills. In this case, I'm starting with the Heralds. So Tamurkhan's, for instance, is this one. Note how units are mostly split concerning their role, like all the infantry, the monstrous infantry, the beasts or single entities, the flyers, etc. And the type of benefits in general, they get a lot of melee attack and melee defense over here. So almost all single unit will get a benefit of that, or some form of resistances, but it's much more clear in the Chaos Lords sections how different it is, because they get overall they're focusing on either mortal units or on demonic units, and then there's a certain favoring of more armor and survivability, more ward saves, more missile resistance, more armor everywhere. So overall the units will be more tanky under a Chaos Lord. So Tamurkhan can have a variety of armies, considering the Chieftain mechanics, so I decided to get some choices using only one of them. Perfectly fine if you use all of them if you wish. So first with the Chaos Dwarf Chieftain, of course with some missile units, which is perfect for the playstyle, that works so great. And then with the Chaos Lord, and finally with the Nurgle Chieftain. So he focuses well on mortal units and Plague Ogres, so why not trying out some of these armies? If you prefer to run only Rot Knights and Toad Dragons instead of some Plague Ogres, by all means. Of course, also fine if you like having some combinations of the other Chieftain units. In terms of Chaos Lords, overall they do get that 10% physical resistance for Chaos Warriors, for Chosen, for Chaos Knights, so why not run a few ideas and combinations with those. I always like to include some of those Rot Knights specifically, or even the Toad Dragons, because of how effective they are against large targets, or of course the Toad Dragons against infantry. It's good for single entities. That's the best idea. In terms of the Chaos Sorcerer Lord, so they do have bonuses for Forsaken, Chaos Spawn. It's not a lot, let's say, but for instance, note the Perfect Vigor for Forsaken. So if you're assaulting walls, remember that. Perfect Vigor, they can take the walls, they can go and fight it there, and it'll do a good job. And of course you can use other units in conjunction with that. But nothing wrong if you go with Chosen, of course. Now, for the Heralds, just try to go thematic and use some demon units here. Also, that last army is something of a reinforcing army. It's not really great to fight on its own. It's very squishy, but it's perfect. It's very fast, which is not something the Nurgle is typically known for, but it's really cool to use as a reinforcement army or someone following other good armies. So Tamurkhan is a perfect lord for something different. The unique mechanic of the Chieftains allows so much variety in the gameplay that one could not write down all of the possibilities. Therefore, the aim here is to just have fun with a Nurgle faction that can easily and seamlessly adopt other playstyles in battle. Given the units it has access to, I recommend using each Chieftain on a different army, just to have a ton of variety. Like imagine each Chieftain you have like what, 6 armies that are completely different from what typically Nurgle fields? That is up to you, as always. So your army, Nurgle units only considered, consists of great infantry, great cavalry, average missiles, great single entities, good flyers, very slow, and they do have that cycling recruitment system which you need to pay attention to. Replenishment is great, one of the best factions for it. However, be mindful that all units start lower in health, and you have to accommodate for it. Note that no matter your losses, you're easily able to gather a full force very fast, so you have to use it to your advantage, kind of like when you play the Vampire Counts, for instance. So I believe now it is time to set on a campaign of conquest with Tamurkhan of Nurgle.